everyone. So I wanted to discuss an event that happened recently. I haven't heard about it until this stuff started popping off. I don't normally pay attention to book signings and book events and things like that. I'm not a fan of those. I prefer like small little venues that you can go to and meet an author if you want to. I don't like those big events. It's just too many people, my anxiety, all that stuff. I just prefer not to. So the thing was called Readers Take Denver. And the founder is this person. Says is New York Times bestselling author Lisa Renee Jones. I will just say I've never heard of this woman until recently. So how successful an author are you if I don't even know your name? Especially when it comes to in the romance community. You're a romance author? Sorry, So I'm going to go to the beginning where they had their event, and it was like, I think Friday, Saturday, Sunday, or it might have been Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I think it was like a 3 or 4 day event. I want to say Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And even before like Friday tipped off, there was a lot of things that happened. A lot of things went on at this event that if you are a professional person who normally does like things like conventions like this, then things should have been run more smoothly. Especially when it comes to like, say the people who do Comic-Con every year. It has to run smoothly, right? In order for it to keep going every year. So there was a lot of things that basically popped off to get to this point. So there's authors that, they're going to talk about their experiences because I screenshot them. But I'll say this is the letter that I think either the authors or the readers ended up getting afterwards, where it says, Readers Take Denver. Hi all. It says it's a note from Lisa Renee Jones. First, thank you for attending RTD 24. I'm going to be saying RTD a lot in this video too, because they shortened it. We are honored to have had you with us. Also, so many of you touched me deeply coming up to me. The sentence structure, I'd say for an author, when you're like touched me deeply, I don't know, weird. It sounds weird, coming up to me and hugging me and telling me you had a great time. A few of you, as you know, brought me to tears. Okay, more than a few. I was very excited to hear that so many of you got to your authors and had such a great time. 2 programs you're telling me really worked were the early pickup and pre-sale area, as well as those afternoon pop-ups. We will expand those next year. Yes, we had issues with the hotel, big issues, which sideswiped me because these were not our experiences last year. I can't go back, but I can go forward and make 2025 better on all fronts. I'm meeting with the hotel next week, but more so I have to plan. The way we do that is planning to do more at home and more ourselves, but it taught me a lesson. Also, registration needs to be virtual. You need to get your bags at your luxury, but quickly. Next year, we are taking steps to make this process much smoother. I will bleed if that is what it takes to make that happen. So I'm working on having everything nifty on your phone. The signings, it says Friday was smooth sailing. I hope you thought so. And then we had the glitch Saturday where the wrong group of people were called to the wrong room. This created my worst nightmare, and we had craziness. I think some of the volunteers panicked and might not have been as nice as I would like. It was stressful, for all of which is exactly why you don't need anyone adding to that by being rude. I'm sorry. I'm just devastated that happened. Saturday should have been just like Friday, and we were in good shape. We were going to get everyone through the rooms, no problem. And for those authors with tickets left, I'd gone to them and asked them to stay Saturday. I want you to get to your authors. I want that very much. Because I also heard some people have said people who needed extra accessible support didn't get it. That is truly gut-wrenching to me. I personally tried to help anyone I saw who may have been in need of assistance and stopped to check on them. I tried to ensure my staff did the same. In fact, one of our very best volunteers uses a chair for mobility assistance. They were amazing. Coincidentally, before I ever heard about this, I asked them if they would meet with me this week to talk about what they saw and how we could make things better for 2025. I have a call with them next week, so I can 100% promise you that we are going to do anything and everything to ensure everyone has access and is happy and safe. Also, if this happened to you, can you please email me personally? I would love to chat and talk about this year next. If you missed any signatures, I'm happy to see if I can try to get them too. So she's giving her email address, lisareneejones@gmail.com. So I would say, if you were at this event and you have a complaint, I would honestly email her. Finally, I saw the post that there was an incident at the hotel. The only thing I've been made aware of was a situation, and I was there for, as was Diego. Diego is her husband. We handled it instantly. Friday night, Diego and I were standing guard, actually sitting right outside the room so we could hear ourselves talk, as was a security guard. The doors were open. 3 guys were on the dance floor. Apparently, one had a mutual connection, but then when one decided they didn't want the connection after all, it turned south. This was when the party was all but over. Not many people were left, maybe 50 when there had been 1,500. Diego, me, and security immediately went into action. Diego swiftly took action to remove them, and everyone was happy he did as such. We had people involved come after and thank us for immediate action. We are going to make sure someone checks badges to get into those events every second until the very end next year. Even if they know an attendee, they must have a badge. That's the problem I have with this when we're here. We're going to make sure someone checks badges to get into those evening events every second. When you're going to any type of convention, you have to show your freaking badges all the time. All the time. So the fact that they didn't check badges when people are going into this gambling, like fake kind of gambling kind of thing, and it's a dance. Alcohol's involved. Yeah, you need to make sure there's fucking badges for every person. Then Saturday night, an attendee was given people looks, and we were standing right there, and we escorted him out. Security was there as well. It was over fast. We were there, as was security, because that many people and alcohol can always be tricky. But I want to assure you, me and Diego were personally there. We're ready to handle things, and we are learning from this to have even stronger policies next year. I also told the hotel about this post that was made where someone made a generic statement about an incident, and they have no knowledge of anything further. We did try to contact that person. It says, I know of nothing else. If there was something else, please email me personally. The hotel has cameras everywhere, and any incident that is reported, we can use their aid, the cameras, and any other resource necessary to take swift action. We take safety seriously. That's questionable. In the case that someone has claimed a volunteer put hands on someone, I got security involved immediately because there are cameras everywhere. If we could find the appropriate footage, security has already said that they will strongly take action, as will we. We are trying desperately to get more info, as is hotel security. If you saw someone touch someone at the Adams doors, please, I beg of you to write me a little note. I promise to keep it confidential. Finally, I value you so very much. We sent out a little survey yesterday too about your experience. I promise I will read them. And I've always said, and I know many of you have tested me, emailed me. I really will answer and quickly. Tell me what you need and how I can help this event. And you mean so much to me. I'll be there for you, Lisa. I will say, As an author, that email there was a little bit things to be left desired. I will just say that. I know, like, as an author, you're not going to be all great with punctuation and spelling. Sometimes you mess up. I realize that. But the sentence structure, the way things were said, it just kind of weird. And also, it just kind of sounded like, it kind of reeked of desperation of like, Diego, my husband, handled this immediately. And like, first of all, why are you and your husband running this event? That's my question. Are you professional event planners? Where you plan for stuff like this? You're an author. What the fuck do you know about planning book conventions and book events? What do you know about it? Besides, well, I'm an author. So? Doesn't mean that you know what the fuck you're doing when it comes to events. So, to me, I kind of think of it as they didn't know what the fuck they were doing. They got into way over their head. There were like at least 3,000 readers at this event. 3,000. That to me is like, seems way too many people, for an event. So I think they got in way over their head and did not plan this properly. So here's one author that she said she was there. She goes, let's not forget that the very host of RTD, who is also an author, Lisa Renee Jones, also added every author who registered for the event to her personal newsletter list. This is kind of weird. When she was confronted about it, she tried to kick me, the other one who confronted her, out of the event, then swore it was an innocent accident. I called BS then, and the way I was turned into the problem told me I was dealing with a narcissist. Then this same person had another author speak out publicly about her shady tactics, and she bullied that author out of agency representation. She's talking about Rebecca Yarros. When she went to her agent and said it's her or me. She and her spouse are also the sole proprietors of said nonprofit benefiting 100% of the profits from said event, a charity that has no building, but instead is made up of two people who get to pick and choose who they assist with vet bills. There is this charity that her and her husband run, which I'm always questionable about charities that a couple runs. Where are the receipts that, all this other stuff, that you're showing for the Better Business Bureau? I want to know all those details before I even think of donating to some kind of charity. But can't seem to prove how much is actually going there. This same person who had previously put out mid-level books, dang girl, that's a burn. I'm not just saying that. You can check KDP Rocket for this info. Went from minimal income from her books to suddenly being able to hire up to 10 different TikTok influencers to do sponsored ads all within 1 month. This past month, to be specific. The timing may just be odd, but if it talks like a duck, quacks like a duck, then chances are it's a scam artist. So another person had comments, I didn't know she was the organizer when I first heard of the event. I removed myself from her art crew a couple of years ago after being screamed at for not giving her book 5 stars. Was told to delete the review. I thought she was crazy then. I know so now. I wouldn't go to one of her events if you paid me. So, one person had said, have you read Amelia Hutchins' Facebook post? She said she was labeled a problem too. Seems like anyone who tried to get something done was lumped into that category. So I decided to go to Amelia Hutchins' page on Facebook, and she has a lot to say. This is going to be a long one. I have a lot of stuff. So, her first thing said, I'm not blaming this author, to clarify that now. At the 2.5 hour mark, I had 6 people in line. Another author had so many that her line was standing by my banner. I had to ask them to please back up to take pictures with my fans. These fans were standing behind me at one point. One was behind me watching me sign books. They pushed my staff out of their way or merely trampled over it while being directed to stand where they were by staff, including my banner. One was attempting to lean on my 8-foot flimsy as shite banner's pole. It was unsafe, especially because there was a newborn in that author's line. Honestly, I will say to readers, why would you take a newborn with you to a book signing? No, you shouldn't do that. I called one of the volunteers over and they merely laughed and walked away. I still tried to remain positive, only to have the staff leave the other author's line to inform a few who asked where my line began to leave and come back later. Only my fans weren't allowed back in later. They weren't allowed back in at all. I asked the team member at the door, who merely shrugged and said that they shouldn't have left. When I explained what happened, she merely rolled her eyes and walked off. I literally sat there for most of the day signing bags or posters brought in to be signed. I don't mind signing them, honestly, but I had a ton of pre-orders, which made me sick knowing my fans weren't being allowed into the room. The second day, fans swarmed my table. Some had horror stories about the day before. I'd apologize, then ask what they wanted signed. I never limit what I sign. I sign fast and usually do a get-together prior to the signing to assure talking is limited during the signing. When I asked if they wanted a picture, they asked if it was allowed. That was shocking considering all the other authors were doing it. I finally asked why would they assume it wasn't allowed? Because they'd been told that it wasn't allowed. 2 book max could be signed. Nothing brought inside could be signed. Yet the author beside me was taking pictures, spending however much time she chose to with her fans, who continued to knock my things over, move my things, trample my things, all while her line manager looked on, glaring at me. I will say the font for this is not the greatest. I left my table to use the restroom halfway through the second day. While I was in the stall, I got to listen to the very same line person talking about me with an entire group of her friends. Jesus Christ. I was just some shitty fantasy writer, and she didn't care if they knocked over my ugly as fuck banners. Obviously, yeah, fuck. And I'd better think twice before challenging her. What the actual fuck? I was a major sponsor who was bashed by the team, volunteers, and yet there was no one to speak to about it. I responded to one email, never got an apology for them listening to whomever said whatever instead of first coming to speak to me about it personally. My line volunteer, who was assigned after my line reached 10, was screamed at for calling back the readers who'd been sent away yet again. I didn't know who to speak to since all the event people around me either ignored me and my team and no communication was made. I was offered a booth at the Rising Star room, only no one knew about it. I was actually told that I couldn't go in their room. Why? Of course I did. I enjoy meeting new authors because I was once one of them. I enjoy meeting them and it makes them happy and it also makes them feel accepted into the community. Yeah, of course, that's great that this author wants to do that. It's important to help them feel like part of the book community instead of like an outsider. Yeah, of course. The vendors, they weren't treated like the help. They're not the help. They help the authors. The vendors sell merchandise, which can bring an author new fans. New authors bring in readers. Readers allow us to continue living the dream of being an author. Without them, there is no us. If it had been only me who had been treated like crap for being a shitty fantasy writer, which, by the way, I'm an author, my books are published, there's a huge difference. I did the awkward lunch with authors, even though I'm awkward, introverted, and was exhausted and dehydrated. Girl, I feel her. It brought money to the event. I brought money to the event, and I was disrespected, insulted, and openly bashed by the staff. Wow. Wow. Then I was told about the horror and absolute disrespect that happened to the authors who were in the Aurora rooms. I was messaged about my fans being touched by volunteers, staff, and verbally attacked. I went up to my room shaking and upset for my fans, for the authors, for the readers and venues. I put my name tag on and I went back and went to each and every vendor, then Rising Star again. This time I interacted with each and every single one of them. I actually looked around at what was happening, at the girls hiding in the hallways bawling, at the authors who were exhausted both physically and mentally, the vendors who were visibly upset with how they'd been treated. Authors scrambled to help one another. We met fans in the lobby, delivered books to rooms, held mini pop-up signings in our hotel rooms. We did whatever we could to ensure readers got a chance to meet us, to ensure our readers had something to leave the book signing with. I woke up to cops pounding on a door, a girl covered in blood and bruises, a female police officer questioning her in the freaking lobby, and I'm praying that it wasn't what I think it was. People were groped in a space where they shouldn't have been. They should have been protected. No one told authors to be at the signing early. We had no idea influencers were being let inside early. There was no communication. There was, however, the strength and closeness of the book community, which banded together to help one another and create memories for the fans. We may be just writers, but by God, we are our own community. Book needs never forget, and we seldom ever forgive easily. To my fans, I promise to do better when choosing signings. I don't think it needs to be said, but I will not be attending RTD 25. I refuse to feel unsafe as I did there ever again. I refuse to sponsor an event that abuse the readers that we, as authors, Becky, bring in for the event. If I wanted to be abused, insulted, and threatened like shite, I can go to Goodreads and get all 3 for free. That's what this event felt like to me. I guess I did figure out a word for describing what I felt after all. That's sad. That's sad. This is a published author. It's not an indie author. Indie authors, of course, they get a little bit more shit because, they're indie authors. They get a little more disrespect because they're indie authors. This is a traditionally published author, from what I could assume from this thing. She said she's published, traditionally published. So I have to look up her books because I honestly never heard of this author, but I'm not into the fantasy and all that stuff. So obviously, it's my ignorance because I'm not really, I'm starting to get into fantasy. So check out like which authors I like, which authors I don't like. So I honestly had no idea who this person was. But to me, it's like from her accounts, that sounds absolutely horrible. I know for me, if I was there, I'd be pissed. I would be so fucking mad if I saw people being pushed, disrespected. I got a big mouth. So, I would be saying something. So a person had commented on Threads and said, I've asked her numerous times to delete me from her newsletter. This is, she's talking about Lisa Renee Jones. It says, and stop messaging about her ARC team. I read one of her books and didn't enjoy it. I still get messages to this day. So from the, from other people, supposedly if you sign up to Lisa Renee Jones's newsletter, there's no way of you unsubscribing from her newsletter. There's no button to push for unsubscribe. So the only way to stop getting the emails is to literally put the woman's newsletters in your junk or spam folder. That's the only way you could stop getting these emails. There's no thing to unsubscribe from this. Ridiculous. Sorry, my allergies are bugging me today. So Rebecca Yarros decided to post on her Facebook. Now, this is not her author page. This is her regular page, her regular Rebecca Yarros page. When you scroll there, you could find it. It's right at the top, she hasn't posted much within the last, couple of days. She may post, by the time this video posts, she obviously may post some other stuff too. So this is long. It just says, big breath, here we go. It says, anyone who knows me or who has watched the madness of the last year knows I've learned to let people think what they will of me as long as I'm the only person harmed. But when it comes to the events of this weekend, many have been mistreated, and I find myself in the surreal and precarious position of having one of the more substantial platforms at the event, and the whole, with great power, there must also come great responsibility thing applies, especially when others are hurt. And yes, I'm nauseated knowing about to face the sting of backlash. First, let me address my personal experience, as I've been blamed by RTD for, honestly, I'm not sure, but I think it's not seeing every attendee who purchased the ticket and announcing a signing limit after the refund policy was announced. 1. When I signed on to RTD in June of 2023, I don't know why I'm having such trouble with that word. The publicly announced estimated attendance was at 1,700 to 1,800 readers, and the mission of the signing at the time was short or no lines and the ability to see as many authors as attendees wished. I wasn't arrogant enough to think all 1,800 people would want to see me, considering last year was split pretty evenly with thriller readers. There were thriller authors there as well. It wasn't just romance, there were thriller authors there as well. Also, the no lines thing is actually stated in the Facebook group of this event. You have to be a part of the Facebook group. Also, if you wanted to go to this event, you had to have the WhatsApp group in order to follow it. WhatsApp. What? In order to know what everything was going on, you had to have the WhatsApp and be in the chat. Yeah. So the numbers are correct. They had stated that number for 2024. Unfortunately, it went up. Number 2, in November of 2023, coming off the Iron Flame tour and realizing the sales of RTD had inexplicably swelled to 3,000 readers, I informed RTD that I knew my pace was 400 readers in 3.5 hours, and voiced my concern that there were not enough hours dedicated to signing. On the 25th of November, I received an email from RTD noting my signings would be limited to 600 ticketed readers with a wait list and one panel for 900 readers, so I could see as many attendees as possible in the allotted time. I was heartbroken to limit it, but felt it was better for readers to know whether they had a ticket than hope and leave disappointed. They knew November 25th, peeps. Right here is where I will absolutely take accountability, as others have failed to do. The RTD staff knew at this point I could not see every reader and had the basic details of how the signings would proceed, just not the nuanced details of how to ticket. Between the cogs of my writing deadlines, travel schedule, booksellers, and holidays, we could not find a time to meet until the middle of January to finalize the details on ticketing/announcement. Please know that I had no idea that RTD had a no refund policy or a deadline approaching, or I would have juggled everything to make that announcement happen sooner. I was shocked, and I'm truly sorry to every reader who purchased a ticket to RTD with seeing me in mind and were denied access. You have my most sincere apology. I'm disappointed that RTD didn't make it known to me that we could give readers ample time to make informed choices, and I will never sign on to any event without knowing such details in the future. Good for her. 3, I requested that the interest forms for the signing and panel go live simultaneously so that readers who rolled their eyes at the rules could have their second choices deleted according to the time they entered them. First come, first served. It was not my wish to do a lottery, as I think lotteries are impossible to keep transparent or fair. Number 4, in February, amid the concerns over denying refunds, I asked RTD for additional signing time to see more readers and was given an extra hour on Friday night. I made it clear that I could happily sign an hour or two extra on Friday night, but no more that morning with the panel, since wrecking my wrist Friday would mean jeopardizing Saturday's signing. Though I was technically given the requested hour at my table, the entire signing was shut down amid yelling and flickering lights. This is like repeated, like how many people said there were flickering lights? Like, get the fuck out. Friday night at 5, leaving our table empty and our efforts sadly in vain. We could have easily seen another 100 or more readers. 5, in February, I asked to sign longer after the Saturday session so I could see as many readers as possible. I was denied and told I would ruin the plated lunch and anger all its attending authors if I did so. I continued to ask for a month with the same response. It was suggested that I sign during the Rising to Star signing. We'll address that in a second, and I declined as to not detract from those authors. At this point, defeat sank in, and I gave up trying to fight for more hours. Sunday was not an option as it was one of our kiddos' birthdays, and I was already missing another kiddos to pre-sign all the pre-orders. Number 6. Under RTD's instruction, the bookseller ran a pre-order in our name. Yikes. When we asked a stop so we could manage our own pre-order and avoid confusing readers, the bookseller immediately did so, though RTD shifted blame. Let's be clear, I'm all for booksellers doing their thing and selling books. We love you. But RTD selling my signature without asking me first is icky, and twice as icky when readers don't know where the heck to pick up their books. To readers who spent precious time bouncing between our book and the bookseller, I'm so very sorry. Our team did our best to mitigate confusion, and we weren't always successful. If you ordered through the bookseller and didn't pick up your books at our booth, RTD is now in possession of your pre-orders. If you didn't snag yours placed through us, I have your bags at home, and I'm absolutely willing to ship so you get your books. 7. For the most part, our signings were left alone, and our team got through as many readers as we physically could. If you were on the wait list and hung around, Rachel snuck you in between numbers. However, the system of calling numbers was inefficient and didn't allow for equity. We were 100% shut down on Friday, and none of our requests for more readers were posted after 11 a.m. on Saturday after we reached 625. I'm frustrated and so very sorry. 8. Until now, I've abided by professional courtesy as we share an agent, but amid rumors of preferential treatment, please know that there was none. While RTD did make my hotel reservation and waive my table fee, I paid over $10,000 in hotel fees, sold books at Amazon prices pretty much cost when it came to Fourth Wing and Iron Flame, hauled my own books, swag, bags from home through the hotel, and was so very lucky to have my team with me. Though I actually asked to be included in the ballroom with other authors, I will say that having a private room ended up being a blessing as it allowed my team to bring as many readers to us as possible without the constraints faced in other ballrooms. Though I did ask that everyone be seated in the panel when we entered for safety, and so we not waste reader time with me shimmying through the crowd, which ended up wasted anyway when the panel mics didn't work. Yikes. I never asked for special treatment nor additional security measures, though I was constantly warned / told I was a security risk by RTD. Told I'd cause chaos if I informed readers where I'd be outside signing hours or socialized, and was told other authors at the event hated me for pulling attention and would only draw more ire if I asked for more signing time because it would pull readers from panels and events. I was made to feel like an absolute burden, a pariah, and yet somehow simultaneously a diva, which was a true novel experience. I only say this because if this is how I was treated given the size of my platform, then just Yikes. No one should be made to feel this way, then be gaslit by being told they've bent over backwards for you. I will not engage in a back and forth dialogue in regard to the above, as it is in fact as stated in text, witness and calls, and in email. Holy crap. Here's the thing. My team had a feeling we'd face obstacles and rallied. I'm so very lucky to be surrounded by a protective husband and incredible women who care about readers just as much as I do and were willing to give up their time, their energy, and their sleep to pack books, stress out, haul pre-orders, listen to Taylor Swift, and put up with my squirrely self to give readers the best experience possible given the circumstances we felt were headed our way. I'm eternally blessed by their organizational skills. And if you had a good experience at our little corner of the RTD world, you have Rachel Christine, Ashley Scales, Cassie Schlenk, I'm sorry if I pronounce the name wrong, Katie Luster Work, and Lizzie Mason to thank. And if you didn't have a good experience, I'm so very sorry. My only goal at signings is to make as many people happy as possible while respecting the limits of my body, and I'm sorry if we failed you. If you were one of the readers who came across me in a moment of scurrying from one place to another, or at the end of a spontaneous/unapproved signing, please accept my apology. And man, does that read that it's all about me. But another author and good friend told me last night that it's important for other authors to see that it wasn't just them, and reminded me to speak since I have a loud voice in this room. But the real travesty is how others were treated. I cannot speak to every instance, especially the disturbing reports of SA, as I was quite sequestered, but I'm reading accounts that have my hackles raised. Some of the issues I took umbrage with but did not personally face. 1. Authors, you should not be divided by what someone else deems to be your accomplishments, nor should you pay equal fees for what are not equal perks nor time. You deserve better. 2. Volunteers, holy cow. 1. Ivana, wherever you are, you rock. Floor, you worked your butt off. I've never seen a more exhausted group of people. Having arrived at the hotel on Wednesday, the workload appeared borderline abusive. I really hope you guys are getting some sleep. 3. Shutting the lights off on a group of people who aren't moving fast enough for your liking isn't just a juvenile form of communication, it's dangerous. And whomever flipped that switch is dang lucky no one was hurt. What the heck were you thinking? 4. 15 minutes is nowhere near long enough to tear a table down. Schedule better. 5. How dare you dead name someone and refuse to change their badge? What the actual fuck? I said what I said. 6. Dragging my friends and their line of 40 readers into the hallway at the end of a signing is just, I'm speechless. Signings are for readers. They are not cattle. You do not prod them along to fit your agenda or space. This entire event is for them. If they want to dance on the tables, we should hold the table legs and cheer them on. 7. I honestly don't care that I didn't get a backpack, swag, or a lanyard, but every reader should have, and I join with the rest of social media in wondering where the cookies went. There's a story to this. 8. Number 8, in order for 3,000 readers to pick up pre-orders, let alone see the authors they want, there has to be more than 6 hours of signing. As it stands, this is a convention with a signing afterthought. To truly be a signing, both Friday and Saturday should have been dedicated to all-day signings. Number 9, on that note, maybe 3,000 readers is just too many. Even if you give 2,000 readers 30 seconds apiece, it would take over 16 hours to see every single one of them. Math is math. There's no cheating math. Number 10, the only way this signing could have gotten whiter is if it snowed. Oh, wait, but seriously, only 0.01606% of the authors were BIPOC. And don't get me started on, we invited, but they didn't come. If more BIPOC authors didn't come, perhaps we should sit back and ask ourselves, why? Especially with that woman involved, you know? Number 11, readers, on behalf of every author at the event, I'm sorry. It hasn't been said to you enough, so let me say it again. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry you couldn't get your pre-orders. Couldn't see the authors you wanted to. I'm sorry registration took hours. Sorry food ran out. Sorry security wasn't tight enough at the night events. Sorry some volunteers raised voices. Sorry it was disorganized. Sorry you felt frazzled. Sorry you felt overwhelmed. Sorry you did not get to bask in the overwhelming joy that spending 3 days in the book world should give you. Number 12. That being said, I absolutely will not be attending RTD in the future under its current leadership. Yes. But I wish nothing but the best for the event and those who attend it. And now I shall go write a book or something. So she said, edit to add, my voice isn't the only one out there, of course. This is just my narrow personal experience to add to an already robust narrative. Please read the following posts for additional voices. I'll continue to add as I come across posts, and feel free to add in the comments as you find others you'd like to amplify. So she had given names of other authors who had stated that they were there, their experience, things like that. So I followed where those authors were. So one of them was author Daisy Jane. So she decided to post on Threads. Also, before I begin, I will say, like, there was a situation involved with cookies. Now, I've seen this. From what I gather, it was a particular thing that you buy a book, you get a cookie kind of thing. And so the cookies ended up going missing for some reason. So that is right there. You paid for that. You know, you did that as like a perk for the readers, and those go missing for some reason. So that is, you're basically eating that cost. You know, like when I've gone to an event before, there was all kinds of like little goodies and things like that you can go and get. Like when I went and met Penelope Douglas in the beginning of 2020 before the Panini, she had like little swag of pens, like you can go and take a pen, you know. So I took a pen, she signed like a couple of my books and things like that. So they had different swag that you can go and either pay for things you could pay for, or things that you got when you signed, obviously how many books, things like that. So the fact that they paid for that, the authors paid for that stuff, and then it goes missing, that's not right. So author Daisy Jane had stated, let me go to the beginning part because she had extra stuff that she had said. So let me go to number 1. Okay. So she says, RTD was a massive letdown from the start. Number 1, all of my boxes of books were not brought to my table as promised. We were told we could set up tables between 4 and 5 p.m. We didn't get to set up until 9, and by the time I carried all of my boxes across 2 convention rooms, it was 9 p.m. Carts were missing. Authors were sharing luggage carts to move books despite the fact that we were told our books would be brought to us. We didn't eat dinner until 11 p.m. because of this. I also will say, like, if you've never been to I've seen stuff, if you've never been to any kind of book convention, they have a lot of books in boxes. So in order to get your books from the room that has all the books in it, and this was the other thing, nothing was alphabetized. Nothing was alphabetized in that room with all of those authors' books. So you have a cart, like manage going over to like Costco, right? And you have to pick up a TV. They usually have one of those like carts that's like a flatbed kind of cart. This is like the same thing. You're going to a signing event. You need to have all of your books. You put them on this flatbed cart. You push the cart to your, designated table. You unload, and then someone, obviously takes the cart back. This was not done. So what the fuck were they using to transport? So they had to carry all of these book boxes to their table? You know how long that takes to get from the table back to the room, pick up more boxes of books? What are you carrying? Maybe like one box? That shit's fucking heavy. So one box, back to the room, back to the table, go back to the room, back to the table. So no wonder it took forever to get all that stuff. They were told one thing and they got something else. So she says, I had a panel in the morning, so we had no choice I think she said, but to set up at night. It says hi. Because we went to the mixer, I was wearing heels and a dress. Moving those boxes destroyed my feet for the following 2 days. Oh my God, girl. Wearing heels. Wearing heels. And then taking those... Oh, man. So bad. So bad. The boxes absolutely should have been moved to our tables as promised. No one was around to even explain why they weren't. Problem number 1. Number 2. The mixer was a hallway full of people. No drink tickets. I suppose our massive price tag couldn't cover a few drinks. There was one bar station with 2 bartenders and one was in training. The line, par for the course of this event, was insane. Beer was $16 for one. Cocktails were $17. You read that right. Rumor has it that the booze was donated to the event too. So yeah. Holy shit. See, I don't drink, so I wouldn't be going for the booze. So, one author had commented and said, don't forget people yelling for everyone to shut up in that hallway before they let us into the room. And so Daisy Jane had replied and said, it's insane. We were cattle, expected to pay nearly $20 for one drink. We could have purchased a book for the price of a beer. And freaking water bottles were $7, another author had posted. $7 for water bottles? 2.5. Might I just add right now that there was never anyone to speak to about anything. Have a complaint? Cool. No event hosts were to be seen. Volunteers were trying to hard but ultimately confused. There was no one to take accountability for everything. Authors and readers were left to commiserate and help each other and ask the hotel for help. I did not see the event hosts even one single time. So that contradicts Elisa Renee Jones's fucking email that states we were there the entire time. Really? Well, this author says you weren't there at all. Okay. Number 3, my table was ticketed to control lines. Readers later told me that if they left the room and their ticket was called, they weren't allowed back in the room. This led to my pregnant PA, my content creator, and my husband dragging all my books back to a hotel room and selling them out of the room so that people could come see me and take photos. We sold books from the room for 2 hours. Oh my God! This woman, her privacy was compromised because they had no choice but to sell them out of their room. What the fuck? Once again, we moved all of the books ourselves on a luggage cart because no one from RTD was around. Oh my God. 4, I hosted a lunch that began 15 minutes after the signing ended so I could not stay to pack up books. My PA, content creator, and husband hustled hard to throw my books onto a luggage cart just to get out of the room because 10 minutes after the readers left the room, they began flashing the room lights, then turned them off. They didn't get to pack up my table. They had to simply throw it on a cart and get out because the hotel began flipping tablecloths, sending authors' books flying. 5, let's talk about the lines. Readers should be refunded money. Something should be given to them. The line to register was egregious and unfair. Then to not let them into rooms, run a ticket system that makes 0 sense, talk to them like shit, deny them, confuse them. They are owed something. Absolutely, they are owed something. We should shed happy tears at events, not sad and frustrated ones. 6, the Lunch with the Stars event was a numbered table system. Then one of the tables were numbered, so the poor event staff had to race around a numbers table, which caused the delay. My friend Kate Blackthorne hosted a table in which she couldn't even eat the food because there were no secondary options. If you paid these costs to eat at this lunch and then couldn't eat what they served, that is awful. A reader at my own table had the same experience. Okay, so yeah, obviously, With no secondary food options, there's some people who have gluten allergies. There are people out there who are allergic to fish or allergic to nuts or whatever else. So, I mean, obviously there is a thing where you have to have at least some kind of secondary option, right? Or say you were served meat and there's people who are vegans or vegetarians and they don't eat meat. You know, you have to have some kind of secondary option, you know, like a salad, something, you know, fish, whatever. Yeah. Continuing, while at that lunch, Kate didn't have anyone to pack her books up, but because they forced us out of the convention room, she had to leave them. She did not know where her books were taken. Only this morning were they spotted by a friend. A person who has paid so much money and is making the event authors built the roster to sell tickets should not have hundreds of dollars of books missing at any point. Unacceptable. 7. Events were not secured. Anyone could and did come into events. There were military men from another convention sneaking in. It is sneaking if there's no security to events. 8. Swag bags contained swag from RTD 23. Every bag seemingly had different things in them. Some people got bags, others did not. Those of us who paid thousands to be in bags, only to find out some bags did not include our items or books, are asking what happened. Exactly. Influencers were supposed to receive an additional bag. Half of them didn't even get lanyards or name tags. It's not about bags. It's about promising people things, not coming through on that and basic needs, and then having no way to rectify any of it. Zero. You didn't get something, essentially, too bad. Then she had an additional thing she had stated. Let me find it. She goes, there are some things we just need to get together on. Readers getting some sort of compensation back or refund from this event is absolutely one of them. Some people saved for months to be here. Yeah, the tickets were like $300. Only to be told they couldn't see their favorite authors, get their books signed, get their badges and swag, to be yelled at, and apparently now pushed. Readers deserve something back 100%. I don't speak out about things. I'm anxious by nature, but these readers deserve something. I stand by that. Ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. So, Kristen Proby, here's another author, big name. She decided to post on her Facebook page. And this is a long one too. Okay. So she says, I feel like I should talk about my experience at RTD this past weekend. There were a few pros. First, there were so many amazing readers who hadn't read me before, who came to my table and didn't just grab info, but bought books. I've heard of this one, or I'm so excited to read this a few times, and it was fabulous to meet new to me readers. In addition, I saw so many other beloved readers and author friends, narrators, influencers, and it's always wonderful to connect with my tribe. However, it was heartbreaking when I asked attendees if they were having fun to have them sign and look down, then simply shrug a shoulder. I could see the disappointment and the absolute stress of trying desperately to try to see all of the authors that they paid a lot of money to see. Events are, on 99% of the time, fun. It's a time to connect over something that we all love so much, books. We laugh and hug and dance and talk. So seeing the disappointment and the stress was heart-wrenching. The signings were, in my opinion, way too short. To expect readers to get around to see authors in 3 hours or less at each session when there are hundreds of authors in attendance is unrealistic. Our room was laid out so poorly that for the first hour of each signing, I sat twiddling my thumbs because readers couldn't advance into the room to see me. At the end of the first day, I tried to make a post saying that I would stay as late as it took to make sure that I saw everyone who wanted to see me, but that post wasn't approved, and it turned out that we were kicked out of the room immediately. I didn't know that a pop-up table in a hallway was an option. That wasn't communicated to anyone, and if I'd known, please rest assured that I would have made that happen. I was lucky that all of my pre-orders were picked up, but we ended up with plenty of books to sell should anyone have wanted them. But more importantly, I would have loved to have seen, hugged, snapped a photo with anyone who wanted to see me but didn't get the opportunity. We were rushed, plain and simple. The other thing that made me incredibly uncomfortable was separating rising stars authors from more established authors and giving them a separate signing. First of all, if you have the chutzpah to write a book and publish said book, you're a star. In my experience, it's best to intermingle all of the authors at a huge event like this, so as readers walk by, they may see a cover or branding or swag that catches their eye. And they will stop to chat with an author that they might not know otherwise. I think that's true no matter how many books an author has in their backlist. So to separate the new rising stars from those who are more established and schedule their signing during a time when other events are also happening, taking potential readers and sales away from that signing is a disservice to those authors who paid the same fee to be there as everyone else. I don't like segregation. Same here, girl. The entire weekend had an air of disappointment and, dare I say, disrespect. No, I typically wouldn't speak like this publicly, but I want my readers to know that we didn't have information going into this event that what went down was the plan. In fact, I don't believe it was the plan at all, but it spiraled out of control. Please know that if this was a first event for you, this isn't the norm. Don't give up on going to book events to celebrate what you love with others who share your passion. I won't be at RTD next year. I hope that the owners of the event take all of the feedback to heart and make significant changes to a process that was very broken this year. If there was anything about your experience at my particular table that was unsatisfactory for you, please reach out to me and we will make it right. Thank you for your love and your smiles and hugs this past weekend, despite the circumstances. You all made it all worth it. Wow, what a nice response, you know? And I will say, like, that's so heartbreaking, you know? Imagine, like, you know, you're an author and, you know, you're going to this event and you're trying to get, like, you know, you could spark some new readers. I know that's for me. Like, if I went to an event and I'm going to each one of these tables, I'd be like, I don't know who this author is. And I would go and ask them, okay, you know what, you know, I kind of am more of a, like, an awkward weirdo when I go to these events because that's how I am. I'm, you know, I'm awkward. But I would ask them, you know, like, oh, well, you know, what type of books do you write, you know, like tropes, things like that. And then I'd say, like, okay, you know, what, you know, sell me your book kind of thing, you know, like you're trying to have an author sell you one of their books, you know, what is it about their book that, you know, they have in it and all that stuff. If they wrote the book, they know exactly what's in it. So it's good for me. Like, if I was able to go to any one of these events and it was like a big event and I didn't know like a lot of these authors, I would go to like these authors that I don't know their names of. And I would be like, oh, well, you know, what's your book's about? You know, that type of thing. And I would probably try to pick up at least 1 or 2 books of their, you know, work, because it's like new to me authors, you know, get their work out there, read their books. Even if, say, I didn't like it, I'd be like, oh, this author, I wasn't really a big fan of this, but, you know, it's got this and this. So if you're interested, because reading is subjective, you know, just because I'm not into it doesn't mean no one else will be, you know? So for me, I would have went to those tables, you know, of, you know, my first signing, I was a bit awkward and I didn't know what to do. For, like, if I went to another signing event again, I know a little bit more. I'd be like, okay, I'm going to go do this and do this and do this, you know, and kind of go from there. It makes me feel so bad to a lot of people just really didn't have a good time, especially like being charged like $7 for water, not knowing where water was. Some people said like they didn't have time to like grab water or grab food, and then they were starving. Another person had did a video on this, and they were talking about that they didn't know like that you had to prepay for some of this other stuff. So when she got there, they were like, oh, this is already a paid event thing. So in order to get like lunch, she had to go to like the restaurant inside the hotel. So you're walking away from this event just so you can eat. That's fucking ridiculous, you know? So this was in the Facebook group where it says Readers Take Denver 2024 attendees. So they had said, today, let's start on a high note. Let's list 5 positive things we experienced at RTD, probably because they're hearing a lot of bad stuff. It says, I'll go first. Number 1, meeting the GOAT, Charlaine Harris, and all other authors. 2, talking to Lauren and Tosca Musk from Passionflix. 3, getting 100% or 100 of, was it what, Precious Books? 100 plus books? I don't know, something like that. 4, Heidi Jaff, the medium bringing a message. I would have not hung out with that woman because I think all of those people, mediums, are charlatans. They're liars. Number 5, lunch with the beautiful, talented, and funny Stacey Marie Brown. Your turn. So this person commented and posted and said, this feels kind of gross considering the literal essay and traumatizing experiences people went through at this ridiculous event. So I will say, I'm going to say essay and groping, that these are alleged things that allegedly happened. I'm not going to say that they did happen because I did not witness them. I was not there. So right now we have to say allegedly because, there are things involved with that. You have to go to the police, you have to file police reports, all that stuff. So I would say allegedly this is what happened, So Diego Harrison, who is Lisa Renee Jones's husband, decided to post on the group to this particular person. So he said, the person's name, this is Diego. I just want to speak on the essay you mentioned, the masquerade situation. Upon being told of what was happening on the dance floor, I quickly asked the guys, 5 of them, and they were military, to leave. Afterwards, 2 women approached me to thank me, an older woman and a younger woman, and it was a mother-daughter. An older daughter in her 20s. Turned out the younger one was the one that the essay happened to. She was dancing with one of the men. Her mother saw how they were dancing and she felt it was inappropriate. The daughter was embarrassed and it happened, but went along with mom in that she agreed they should be escorted out. Though the daughter told me that she didn't dislike the attention she was receiving from the man in question, it was a hand on the waist, but like many things, a hand on the waist has now morphed into sexual assault. The younger woman absolutely does not want to press charges, and the men were military men and were invited to the dance by an attendee. Maybe not all of them, but that's how things go sometimes when friends are together. The mother doesn't want press charges either, and that's the truth of the situation. It wasn't as bad as it's being described in many, many threads or socials, but no matter what, unwanted attention, that kind of unwanted attention is not okay. Okay. You say essay, that definition is a part of groping, touching someone. You do not touch someone, whether you can read someone's signs on their face or whatever it is. You do not touch someone until you ask them. Consent. Consent is very important. And the fact that I don't care if an attendee, whoever that was, invited these military men, they didn't sign up for this event. Bottom line. They did not sign up for this event. They did not pay to get in there, to be part of this event. They did not have badges to get into any of these rooms. So that to me is a security risk. So why, even if an attendee did invite them, why would you do that? This is a event people paid for to have all of this stuff that they were guaranteed they were supposed to get. So you have this someone come in, military men from a base in Colorado, to this event that's supposed to be for women, by women. Yes, there's going to be some men there because there's some authors have their husbands there. Maybe some PAs might be males, that type of thing. But they all have badges. They all are recognized for this event. So that to me, what he's saying, it's minimizing what happened, supposedly what happened. So personally, I really don't think Diego has any say in this group. He's the author's husband. I don't care if he helped plan the event. Why should he be speaking to the readers in this group? So, Emily Rath, she's an author, got pretty popular on TikTok. So, she had stated, I will not be attending RTD again. This was the most unorganized event I've ever attended. Here's a list of my grievances as an author in a ticketed room. The schedule constantly changed and authors were not informed. The signing room was never locked. My stuff was left unsecured for 72 hours. Yeah. Great. So shit can get stolen. That's fucking smart. One of my boxes went missing and was never recovered. So she missed, one of her boxes with, how many books in it? That's going to cost her how much money? And now whoever took these books probably is selling this shit on eBay or Mercari or whatever else. Many readers said they came to RTD specifically to see me, and because of the ticketing process, they never even got in the room. Staff yelled at my readers repeatedly while they waited in line. No time/allowances were made for authors/assistants to pick up pre-orders. I had a PA yelled at until she cried for trying to get pre-orders. I helped her immediately. I was given exactly 10 minutes to tear down my table with my PA, and we were berated for not leaving fast enough. No allowances were made for readers with pre-orders to access the ticketed room, so I'm taking several pre-orders home and now have to ship them. My PA was run ragged all 3 days as she was moved from hall to ballroom to hallways, trying to find my books, move them, deliver them. So many readers ticketed to see me couldn't, so my PA and I did an additional 2 hours of signing in a hallway. Absolutely ridiculous. All of this is to say nothing about my experiences as a featured author for both the lunches. I believe transparency matters, which is why I'm sharing all this. My readers deserved better. My PA certainly deserved better. Frankly, so did I. I want to clarify that not all the staff/volunteers were unprofessional/unhelpful. That would be a hurtful mischaracterization. Many volunteers went above and beyond for me and more, especially my PA. Special thanks to Casey, Nicole, and Taylor if you see this. One person had responded. Another author said, weird, I was told my box was the only box out of 7,000 that was missing. So Emily had said, that's $600 worth of inventory I now have to reorder and ship. The shipping will easily cost $200 minimum. That one missing box will cost me over $1,500. And another person had said, or she had stated again, she goes, just as a follow-up to my RTD post, I'm seeing some misleading discourse that only rising star authors pay table fees and ticketed authors didn't. I have personally never not paid in full to attend a conference, table fee, PA fee, hotel, food, travel. At RTD, I had one meal covered, Saturday lunch. I was even a featured author on the Friday pasta lunch panel, and the staff wouldn't let me take a box lunch. I stole a plate of pasta and ate it by a trash can in the hallway like a raccoon. The fact this author had to steal a plate of pasta so she could eat. What the fuck? Seriously, this poor author. Eating it at the trash, like, oh my God. Oh my God. That is so bad. That is so bad. I'm glad she's like trying to make light of it, but I tell you, for me, I'm hungry. I get hangry. Come at me when I am hungry. I am not going to be in a good mood. Yeah. ridiculous. So another author had said, my unhinged thoughts for the day. I'm really going to sit back and reevaluate the signings I've agreed to, and not because of the readers. The readers are the only reason I would go, but after everything that we've all seen, heard, and witnessed, I want to advocate for kindness. If I see a signing host / company acting unprofessionally and throwing red flags, it's going to be a no thank you for me. As most of you know, I was originally going to be a rising star at RTD. I was invited to swap to a main signing author. I'm not entirely sure why I was afforded that opportunity and my peers were not, but I could tell you that there were red flags and concerns from these authors raised ahead of time, and they were brushed off. I won't speak on my personal experience. We've seen and heard so many accounts of what occurred. I don't believe my voice will add to the narrative. I can say, while I was in Denver, there were companies / vendors there that could not have been more kind and professional. That will always be where I want to send my readers. I truly hope these other large signing hosts see and hear this. We authors never want to draw our readers to an event that brings them so many challenges again, and because of the lessons learned, we have to become more choosy. I can't speak for others, but I will be protecting my readers. I will be watching how you conduct yourselves. Thank you. So another person, DJ Krimmer, had decided to do a signing announcement where she says, it's been brought to my attention that the signing in Salem is not necessarily the best fit for myself or my readers. This is a different company. Says another author requested some information in regards to setup and accommodations for readers, authors, and vendors who have a disability and or may need an aid such as crutches, canes, wheelchair, etc. This author was met with condescension, bullying, and made to feel bad for asking these important questions. That level of unprofessionalism is enough for me to pull out. But then to see the remarks made about the author outside of the group by those in charge of the convention, as well as the fact that there were authors in the group stating that those were sensitivities should carefully signing up for any event, actual quote, I could no longer have my name attached to them. My writing career has centered around giving those of us without a voice and story their happily ever after, to prove that we are not disabled people, but people with a disability. It would be in poor taste for me to go to this convention after what I've seen. I love in every one of you, my readers, and as fiercely loyal as you are to me, I'm that much more loyal to you. I will protect and defend you all, just like you've done for me. If you're coming to meet me, I will make sure the convention is welcoming. And if they aren't, I will remove myself, because I will not have any of you not put first when you're the reason any of this happens. Without you, there would be no Hell's Inc., no GG1 or whatever that is, no RTD. None of it would be without you, and you deserve better, all of you. I love you, birds, DJ. I thought that was very nice. You know, she had said, like, and I also like the fact that these authors are saying, look, I'm going to be more choosy on where I go and do these events, because the whole purpose of this event is it's supposed to be professional. It's supposed to be run smoothly. Authors should not have to do this. They should be able to get to their table, set up their table, sign books that need to be signed from these readers who come in. You know, they take pictures with them. They appreciate them. They get some books sold. That's the whole purpose of these fucking events. You know, the readers come in. They get to meet these authors that maybe they've read. You read their books, read all their books, and they just haven't met this person yet. It's a nice feeling to go in, talk to these authors, especially if this person's really nice, they're really grateful, they're really humbled that, you know, this person came to see them and they're happy in seeing their readers. That's a nice thing to have. But the fact that this was done so fucking poorly, that I really hope that a lot of these authors really like, you know what? I'm making sure this is on the up and up before I even sign up to this, because I don't want my readers going through that. Any decent author is going to protect their readers. So, another author, Darlene Rodriguez, she said, my RTD experience. As someone with multiple disabilities and physical struggles due to being born underdeveloped, It is hard for me to get around. I don't use mobility aids, so I always feel odd asking for accommodations because in my mind, someone else needs it more than I do. Same thing with me. My feet are like, I can't stand for how many hours because my feet literally will kill me because of how my feet were developed, like in utero and all that stuff. I was born with a birth defect. So I try not to use stuff like that. You know, I'd rather someone else use it. But if I'm standing for how many hours, my feet are going to kill me. And a lot of times I walk through pain. I walk through pain. So I can definitely empathize with this person. That being said, at RTD, I was in physical pain due to being on my feet for so long in lines for hours. Yeah, that's exactly how I'd be too. And there was no one I felt comfortable to speak to about it, especially since I went alone and my anxiety kept me from really talking to anyone or even being at most of the signing and events. I purposely skipped lunch with the stars, which I paid extra for because of the line wrapping around the entire floor. Let's not forget about the lack of water and food to keep us hydrated. We got cakes, which I know was sponsored by authors, but if LRJ, which is Lisa Renee Jones, could get all those cakes, we could have the basics. The signings, again, long lines, and we couldn't even get into rooms. That ticketing system was trash because it wouldn't even move half the time. My number was never called for one author and for the rooms. The second day, I wasn't able to get in like most because numbers weren't called. And then the Rising Stars signing, I had to leave because there were just too many people in a small little room. I was so hard to walk through the aisles and I started getting dizzy, so I left. The entire event was a disaster. The authors, assistants, volunteers, readers deserve better. There are so many stories circling around about what went down for them, so please find sources and check them out. We were promised safety and security. We were not given that. They claimed we needed to stay hydrated, did not give us the basic needs to do so. I will not attend or sign at an RTD event or any that LRJ and their team is behind. We all deserve better. My experience was different from others. I went to RTD as a non-signing author / attendee. This was my first big signing to attend. I didn't know what to expect, and although some things that happened didn't happen to me, doesn't make what occurred invalid. You are important. Your voice matters. You matter and are loved. So I went on one person's video, who was another author. I think her name was Alexis Pierce, I believe. I will try to find the list of all the authors that attended, and I will try to list all the names in my description, so that way if you want to help support any of these authors, look and see what kind of books they have, you know, if there's anything through Kindle Unlimited you want to read. I will try to find that list and put down all of the authors that attended this and go from there. I would say try your best to try to help support these authors the best you can. You know, they went through hell, and definitely these readers, you know, anybody who has like a story that they went, you know, let me know down below, comment down below how your, you know, experience was. You know, people need to be held accountable. And you know what? I hope these people get sued. I really do. I hope the author and her husband get sued. I really do. So I had commented on it was my other account that I have, my Brandy Talks one, even though it says Brandy's TBR on it. So I said, good for you for speaking out. This absolutely cannot be swept under the rug that management is currently trying to do. I'm on Threads and I read how many other authors' accounts of what happened. I'm so sorry that happened to you. You and the other authors did not deserve that treatment, and I'm sorry that you're feeling too traumatized to do any other reader events. I said, this is one reason why I personally don't do big reader events like this. My anxiety would be so high. Plus, I have mobility issues to where I can't stand for how many hours. I said, is there any way that you and other authors can't sue the management involved? I said, since books were stolen, and it was on them to make sure that didn't happen. So she had said, I believe a lawsuit is in progress. I really do. Sue. You know, your stuff was left unattended when it was supposed to be secured in a room, so it wasn't getting taken. And stuff is missing. So one person said, wanted to share that I can confirm readers were held at the door. I was directly and personally forced by Lisa, along with one other volunteer, to keep readers out of Adams 1 during Saturday signings for about 40 minutes while she went down the line screaming at everyone, including us. Wow. How unprofessional can you be? How unprofessional can you be? I will say, I don't plan on reading this author's books ever. Nor do I think that she needs to be a part of next year's event. I think she needs to go and take herself out of it, have someone else take over the job. Her and her husband need to like disappear into obscurity, because seriously, what the fuck? What the fuck? How can you screw the pooch so much that people are like, you know what? I don't want to do another signing event. So now you are taking money, possible money, out of authors' pockets, because these could have been potential buyers for these authors' books. They could have went to another signing and bought these books from these authors. So absolutely, these people, you know, if they were a part of a fucking company, they would have been fucking fired by now. You know? So no, don't plan on reading this author's, you know, books ever. Her husband obviously needs to fucking mind his own business and stay out of it, because he's not a part of that. You know? He's not a part of that. Also, they supposedly have a charity for dogs. You know, that's it's supposed to help, like, people who are, you know, maybe strapped for cash and they need to go and have their vet bills, paid for. I don't know. To me, it's like, it kind of screams of scammy, you know. I don't trust these, a lot of these companies where they say like, oh, we're an organization where we go and we're nonprofit and we're trying to help out this. And I'm like, okay, I want to see all your receipts. I want to see Better Business Bureau. I want to see reviews. I want to see all this other stuff before I even think of giving you my hard-earned money. Not happening. So, to me, that's very sketchy. Very sketch. And someone had stated like they made like $1 million for this event. Then you know what? They can go and reimburse these authors that got their shit stolen. That's what they can do. Because with all the money they made, especially the liquor that was donated, and yet they decided to take the liquor that was donated and jack up the prices so much. $16, $17 just for a fucking glass of alcohol? How much for fucking bottles of water? Someone had said they paid like $7 for a can of fucking soda. $7 for a can of soda. Are you serious? That's worse than Disneyland, man. Oh my God. Oh my God. Seriously. This is bad. This is, I think that's probably the worst reader event I've ever heard of. Now, you know, there's other stuff, you know, obviously, you know, stuff has happened at like a Polycon, stuff's happened at like, what's the other one? Book Bonanza and all that stuff. You know, stuff happens there, but it's kind of like minor things and all that stuff. But possible SA, possible groping, you know, jacking up the prices like we're going to 1999's fucking Woodstock, you know? Seriously? Absolutely ridiculous. This is my nightmare right here. I already don't like to even attempt to go to big signing events because, like I said, my anxiety, my mobility issues, I want to make sure everything goes the way it's supposed to, you know? Especially because I'm like, I don't like people. I don't like being around people, you know, and then you have crowds of people all trying to go and get these authors to sign books. It's not a good time for me, okay? So, I managed to maybe get myself to go to this kind of thing, kind of like push myself to kind of like exposure therapy kind of thing. And now this happens. Holy mama. This is just, seriously, Lisa Renee Jones, Diego Harrison, fucking go and don't even do this. Don't even attempt to do this next year. Sign yourselves off of this stuff. Have someone else freaking do it, because you don't know what the fuck you're doing. You know, and let them come to my channel and say something. Come to my channel and say something, because I don't care. I'm not afraid of a fucking author and her husband. Kiss my ass. You know, I'm not afraid of that. You know, go ahead, complain. You know, there are some people who are afraid. They're afraid to speak out. They're afraid to say something. I'm not afraid to do that. You know, you have a problem with me, take it up with me. You know, but I just think it's absolutely ridiculous. I'm glad that there were big authors that did say something, though. They did say that they saw problems. You know, they heard other stories. I'm glad they're speaking out, because a lot of these indie authors, especially if they're kind of like what they say, rising stars, which is very condescending, to go and like, they complain and they said something. You know, I saw other authors too who were smaller names. I, you know, wrote their names down and stuff like that. They had talked about their experiences, and the fact that a lot of times with smaller creators, smaller authors, they tend to get silenced. They tend to get silenced, especially when you have somebody who seems to have some type of pull. Lisa Renee Jones has some type of pull that she can go and intimidate other people and gaslight other people, because that was going on too. So, for me, this is bullshit. This is bullshit. Absolutely shouldn't have happened at all. So, that's it for this one here. I will say, like, because of myself, I'm more of an introvert. I'm really much, like, socially awkward. And, you know, getting out and meeting people and all that stuff, it's not always a good time for me. And my social battery just drains really quickly when any kind of situations like that. But anybody who is a part of like any of these book events, you better fucking step up your game, man. Don't be fucking this stupid bitch. Don't be there. Don't be that. Don't be that. Because honestly, you ruin it for readers and you ruin it for the writers if you don't know what the fuck you're doing. You know, do your job or don't be involved in that type of business at all. And there's others who are kind of like almost like defending this woman, you know, saying like, well, you don't know how hard it is. Yeah, hence why I don't do stuff like that. I don't plan events when I am unprepared of what the fuck to do. I wouldn't be doing that, would I? Only certain companies should be getting in and doing stuff like that who know what they're doing. That's the whole point of hiring companies who will do this stuff. And yes, you need to have systems in place so people who have, you know, mobility issues, who have crutches or have wheelchairs, that they have accessibility for them too, because it's discriminatory. It's an actual law in place that you need to not discriminate against people with disabilities. Watch your ass get fucking sued. So I really hope that Lisa Renee Jones and her husband get sued. I really do. They deserve it. You know, absolutely ridiculous. Absolutely. So that's it for this video here. I join threads just to like, you know, talk with other readers. But when stuff like this pops up, I have to say something because I think it's absolutely ridiculous and should have never happened. Should have never happened. And the fact that women's safety was jeopardized because they didn't have either any security or hardly any. I am not going to have some rando fucking dude come up to me. I doubt. But, you know, come up to me and think that he can go and grope me or some other things. You got another thing coming, man. So, I think it's just ridiculous that people were put in that situation, and it should have not been that way at all. You know, if there's any authors who were a part of this, any readers, sue. If you can sue this person because they put you in danger. They had your property not properly secured and all this other stuff that happened that you were promised that you did not get because you paid money to get into this event. you should sue. And I hope they do. But yeah, that's it for this video here. Let me know down below, did you go to this event? What was your experience? If you didn't go to this event, why would you think that you would, why do you not go to book conventions? Like, if you don't go, why do you not go? I explain my reasons of why I don't particularly go for myself. I prefer small little venues. Like, I can handle smaller venues. That way I get to see like all the authors. Like, when you have like a big event like that where there's going to be like hundreds of authors, kind of hard for me to see everybody, you know? There might be some I recognize that I'm like, okay, I'll just skip that author. But when you have to like, well, I have to basically choose like only these particular authors, even though I wanted to see all of these authors, I now have to pick like 5 or 6. That's ridiculous. That is absolutely ridiculous. The one I went to was on the Queen Mary. And it had other authors too, and it was very quiet. I mean, I went on the last day, basically when they were getting ready to kind of like end it anyway. I didn't want to do all the food stuff and all this other things you had to pay extra for, and I was like, fuck that. So I went to the last day with my husband, and I had a good time. I will say I'm not a fan of boats, so I would have preferred to be on land instead of being on an old boat that needs a lot of fixing. So I'll just say, like, I'm not a big fan of boats. I've seen Jaws enough times. So yeah, I prefer small events. I actually wish there was more available in California, because I don't really know of a lot here. There was one that was, I think, down in San Diego, and honestly, San Diego's like how many hours away from me, and it's kind of hard to get, So it would be nice if there was something a little bit closer I can get to, and have it to be a smaller event going on, a smaller convention, to where I can see like pretty much everybody, talk to everybody, maybe get some photos, get some books signed. That would be nice, type of thing. But let me know, like, do you like going to big events? Like, why do you like to go to them? Otherwise, do you prefer small events? Is this the reason why you like to go to the small events? Because it's kind of a shit show in the other ones. So yeah, let me know down below what you think about this in the comment section, and we will go from there. So that's it for this video here. Have yourselves a good day. Take care of yourselves. Be kind to each other. And I will see you all on the next video. All right. Bye.